I know that I'm not supposed to allow this information to get out, but I'm really afraid I'm lost. I'm a damn sheriff. I've been working on the force for 15 years and I am admittedly scared fucking shitless. This morning I got a call. This was not at all uncommon. Our town was small, the station only having a secretary and 5 deputies. They were all well trained, but I admit that they can be completely absent-minded at times and often need my assistance on even the easiest tasks. This morning was not one of those mornings. The call was coming from a voice I didn't recognize, but later would learn it was a family member of the force. Yesterday, 2 of our deputies, for anonymity's sake, we'll call them Deputy Tyler and Deputy Harris, went on a group family outing on Tyler's boat. They never came back to shore. The lake is on the far border of the town. It's a pretty large lake too, probably about 20-30 miles. Our town happens to be the only town on any side of it. The rest of the area is thick with trees. Panic set into my gut immediately, but I pushed it down and let the woman on the phone know that things would be okay and we would figure out what the deal was. I heard a sigh of relief on the other end of the line and said my goodbyes before hanging up and dragging my ass out of bed. My wife stirred a bit, but just turned over and resumed her light snores. She was used to this by now. I arrived to the station to find my remaining 3 deputies pacing nervously around the Central Command, aka the main office. Apparently they were fully aware that Tyler and Harris were missing. I did my best to calm them and set them down, treating it like any other larger scale investigation. We began to discuss the basics of the situation. We were looking at a case of 5 missing people: Harris, his wife, his 12-year-old son Donnie, Tyler, and Tyler's latest fling. After about 30 minutes of discussing it, we got some volunteers together and started out to the lake. Around this time, I remember that Harris' boat had a radio that was tuned into our stations. I clicked my radio in my second squad car and switched it to the station he'd be likely to use, static. Still, I left it on for the remainder of the drive. I had just about given up hope when we reached the lake and saw nothing when the static cut out. I waited to see if anyone would speak before picking up the speaker. Hello? Is there anyone out there? This is Deputy Robinson. Silence. Then something else happened. It was almost like a growl, but it sounded distant and quiet. I spoke into the receiver again. Harris, Tyler, if this is you playing a game, it isn't funny. Silence. Growling. Silence. Finally, it cut out the static again. I thought about relaying this to my search team, but ultimately I didn't want to upset them any more than they already were. We set out in 2 different search boats, opting to circle the lake and meet in the middle where there was a small island. It's about a couple feet round, has a singular tree. It's off limits to civilians because it's unstable. The sweep found us nothing, so we headed towards the center of the lake. As we approached the small island, I could see Harris' boat sitting a few feet away from the small landmass. The closer we got, the more clearly I could see. There were 5 people laying on the beach. However, when we finally arrived, I could see that they were not sleeping while they waited for rescue, as I had stupidly hoped. I brought the boat as close as I could to the small island, before turning off the engine and telling the 3 others that waited, looking on in horror. I jumped into the grass, my shoes sinking a bit into the ground. With caution, I approached the bodies. The first thing that I noticed was that they were, in fact, the Harris and Tyler families, though some parts were missing. It was a goddamn gore show, the worst thing I had seen in my entire career. Out of respect for the families, I will be leaving out the details, but it felt like I had been transported into a horror film. I heard one of the volunteers vomit off the side of the boat and decided it would probably be best to take them back to shore and come back for the bodies. I swear to God, we were gone for no more than maybe 15 minutes, but it looked to me like it was even worse when we returned. Fresh blood flowed out of the wounds that weren't there before, not just any wounds either, bite wounds. As we started to move the bodies, one of my deputies noticed that the kid was still alive. This wasn't just a recovery mission anymore, it was a rescue as well. Morale picked up a little bit as we moved the deceased into one boat and the young boy into the other. We rushed him to the hospital. Meanwhile, I called the medical examiner from the next town over. Ours had recently retired and we're still looking for a new hire. I had my deputies accompany the boy while I opted to meet up with the examiner at the station. She examined each body carefully but swiftly. Her face was a bit pale when she had finished the job. "Sheriff, you're not going to like what you're about to hear." I nodded for her to speak. "Well, the bite wounds are human, but there's something else." I had begun to sweat. Human bites? The fuck? No, she had to be wrong. Still, she went on. "Each subject has flesh in their teeth. I won't doubt that if we were to do some tests, they would all belong to one another." For the first time in my entire career, I was dumbfounded. Right afterward, I got a call from the hospital. The kid died within minutes of arriving. They asked if they could send the body in an ambulance and I said yes. The examiner only took minutes on the body but confirmed that he too had flesh in his teeth. The medical examiner highly suggested that we call the FBI or the CDC. I've been sitting at my desk for hours now and I feel like I'm losing my mind. I made the call about an hour ago. Both organizations are sending someone out. I keep trying to wrap my mind around this, but I just can't. They still have plenty of food on the boat from the day before. What would cause a group of human beings who were missing for less than 24 hours to eat each other?